what's up, y'all? This is Bo Beach. This is the Free Speech Podcast. As always, we are going to present the top stories in Nashville commercial real estate, business, politics, and sometimes even sports. I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the stories we're going to cover today, and then we will get into it. Number one, a dueling piano bar from Texas is scheduled to open on 2nd Avenue. I will tell you 2nd Avenue is going to be a theme of today's show. Obviously, that area was very much affected by the Christmas Day bombing of 2020. Is just now starting to come back to life. A lot of activity there. I'm going to catch you up on that activity today. Next, we'll talk about an update on 2nd Avenue's comeback, so a general update. Then we'll talk about the historic Merritt Mansion to be relocated yet again, and I'll tell you that story. Next, a business story. Vanderbilt to open a second campus in the free state of Florida. That's right, a second campus for Vanderbilt opening in Florida. I'm going to tell you that story. Next, we're going to go back to 2nd Avenue. Downtown's old spaghetti factory building on 2nd Avenue to be redeveloped. I'm going to tell you that story. Next, I'm going to introduce you to a concept called the floor area ratio, which is a metric that is driving land values even higher in Nashville, which is hard to believe. I'm going to tell you that story. And last, we'll finish out with a story about a unique and very cool mixed-use development coming to the 12 South Corridor. So that's what we've got for you today, y'all. I think we're going to skip politics and sports. You know, sports, not a whole lot going on right now. Sports will get a lot more interesting once football season kicks off, and I think we're getting close to that. I'm not exactly sure how the dates line up for college and the NFL, but I know we're getting close. Men everywhere are so excited about wasting their entire weekend in front of a screen. With politics, you know, we've got the Democrat National Convention going on in the crime-ridden, totally on a downward trend, Chicago, Illinois, a place that I've lived before, a place I try to avoid now. I think Chicago represents everything that's bad about the Democrat agenda. Nevertheless, that's where they thought it best to have their pre-election party. You know, the one thing that does strike me about it is there really seems to be just polar opposite perspectives of what's happening in our country. You know, it never ceases to amaze me what Democrat voters cheer for. You know, the things that they cheer for really seem to me to be ensuring the downfall of this country, but yet there they are cheering it on. You know, the agenda of the Democrat Party seems to be so misguided and so bad for our future prospects, our future, the value of our money, right, which is reflected in inflation. Their entire agenda seems to be one bad idea after another. And for some reason, people by the millions are supporting these bad ideas. You know, it strikes me that conservative thinking people and liberal thinking people just seem to have brains that are wired differently. You know, one chooses to see the world and its challenges through some type of utopian lens, whereby, you know, just tolerance and compassion automatically make life better for everyone. And the other seems to be much more common sense, much more practical. You know, these are people that are out into the world working and trying to get ahead. They know that the government is not the solution to any of their problems. In fact, many people on the conservative side of the aisle see the government as the problem, right? Whereby the utopian Democrats see government as the solution, right? And it really is kind of mind-boggling to me how different our perspectives really are. And many folks have said, the only way out of this on the edge of civil war scenario that we've been living through is a presidential election where one party wins in a landslide, right? And I'm just not sure that's going to happen, right? No matter who wins, obviously Kamala Harris has no chance of winning in a landslide. If she wins, it'll be by, 100,000 votes or something crazy. Donald Trump has a much better chance of winning in a landslide, right? But just witnessing the conversation around this election, the two choices could not be any more different. And somehow, millions of people are enthusiastic about Kamala Harris, which is very, very hard for me to comprehend. And that's all I'm going to say on politics today. Let's focus on commercial real estate today. Perhaps we'll pick up on politics and sports a little bit more next week. So let's get into this. A dueling piano bar from Texas to open on 2nd Avenue. Founded in Texas in 1992, Pete's Dueling Piano Bar will open at 152 2nd Avenue North, partnering with the operators of Nashville's close down The Big Bang. The Dueling Piano Bar that closed in 2020. So the Big Bang closed in 2020 after the Christmas Day bombing. There's been no one else operating there since. The owners of that business have partnered with Pete's Dueling Piano Bar, which is making its first ever foray into Nashville. Austin Walter, a partner in Pete's, said this: "We had an opportunity to partner with the Big Bang, and it only made sense to bring together two of the most beloved piano brands for an unforgettable nightlife experience. The 10,000 square foot space will have 3 bars, a video wall, and a VIP area, including cocktails served in souvenir bathtubs and schooners," which I think is like a big glass of beer, "that serve up to 5 people." So who wants to share a 5-person sized glass of beer? I don't know who wants to do that. Who also wants a souvenir bathtub? I also don't know that, but maybe they know something I don't. They certainly have proof of concept, right? Pete's Nashville is the 6th location, following Austin, Frisco, Fort Worth, Houston, and Chicago. 2nd Avenue is poised to get several food and beverage concepts, including California-based Mel's Drive-In, which we talked about last week, and Ryman Hospitality Properties and Luke Combs partnering on Category 10, what's being dubbed a entertainment complex. So that starts off our conversation on 2nd Avenue. Let's build on that now. I'm going to give you a general update on the rebuilding and reimagining of that 2nd Avenue area. As the city nears the 4th year anniversary of the Christmas Day bombing, work is halfway done on the restoration of the affected downtown blocks. Construction began on the first block in May of 2023. The Metropolitan Development and Housing Agency is leading the 2nd Avenue rebuild, which is taking part in 3 phases: the north, middle, and south blocks. Each block is expected to take 12 months from start to finish. The north block, which stretches between Church and Union Streets, was the first to be complete in June of this year, giving business owners and residents of the uncompleted blocks a glimpse of what is to come. The vision for 2nd Avenue's restoration took years to fully develop. So just the scope of work took years to agree on. Once complete, 2nd Avenue will have wider brick-paved sidewalks, lots of outdoor dining, as well as new streetlights, crosswalks, trees, and planters. Construction of the South Block, which stretches between Broadway and Commerce Street, is expected to be finished by early next year. Quote, part of why our construction takes 12 months is because we're keeping everybody open throughout the whole process. MDHA hopes to start work on the middle and final block this fall. The entire block is expected to be complete by the end of 2025. So, Christmas Day bombing 2020, the work to repair and make better the damaged areas completed by the end of 2025. No one has ever accused the government of moving quickly, have they? But nevertheless, 2nd Avenue is going to come back bigger and better than it ever has been before. So that's something to look forward to. Let's move on to our third story of the day. Historic Merritt Mansion to be relocated again. Nashville's historic Merritt Mansion is being moved in preparation for its transformation. Previously owned by Kings of Leon, Merritt Mansion has sat at 441 Humphrey Street since 1840. AJ Capital paid $13.25 million for the historic home in 2021 and is repositioning the building to align with Brown Street and make way for a swath of mixed-use development that is planned to surround the site. The site has seen several iterations and relocations of the home throughout its history. The home was built by Captain John Raines, a co-founder of Fort Nashborough in 1799, and was given its federal-style facelift in 1870. Leon Loop is the name of the development surrounding Merritt Mansion. That project, to include 55 residential units and retail space, which will be anchored by the mansion and a central lawn. AJ Capital Partners has spent the past 9 years transforming Wedgwood, Houston from a heavily industrial into an artistic hotspot. The mansion area project is just one piece of the firm's larger 18-acre development known as Wedgwood Village. So no group has done more to reposition WeHo or Wedgwood Houston than AJ Capital Partners. They have gone all in on that very small submarket. They've changed it materially. It has gotten better and better and better. And this new project, Leon, what do we call it? Leon Loop, which is, I'm not sure I'm feeling Leon Loop, but I'm sure the product itself will be cooler than the name given to it. AJ Capital Partners really does get it done. They've got some big money behind them. They're very qualified guys. They purchased that property in 2021 for $13 million. They've been carrying it ever since. We're 3 years in before a single shovel has been put in the ground. A lot of people don't have enough respect for the difficulty in developing commercial properties. Just the ability to carry these properties while you're paying to plan and permit these projects takes big pockets, and you can go 3 or 5 years into a development without even receiving your first dollar of cash inflow, which is a very scary proposition, if you ask me. All right, let's change topics. Let's move to a business topic, right? Number 4 on our list, Vanderbilt to open a second campus, not a satellite campus, but a second campus in Florida. What's going on here? Vanderbilt University is pursuing a graduate school in West Palm Beach, Florida. Vanderbilt Chancellor Daniel Demier, that's not how you say it, Daniel Dermeyer started his week in South Florida attending a pair of key city and county meetings to solidify his plans for a $520 million campus that would include academic buildings and student housing for an expected 1,000 students. Vanderbilt plans to open outposts of its Owen Graduate School of Management as well as its Vanderbilt School of Engineering. Programs would focus on business, artificial intelligence, and computer science, as well as an innovation hub. It is not a satellite campus. It is a second campus. We will be as committed to this community as we are in Nashville. Palm Beach billionaire Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins and real estate developer related companies, was among a half dozen speakers who urged county commissioners to back Vanderbilt's efforts. Quote, "I believe that all of Palm Beach County will become the most important county in the country. Florida is the best business state in this country. Businesses looking to come to Florida are looking to come to South Florida. Donors have already committed roughly $100 million to the project." Vanderbilt is seeking 7 acres of land, which will be donated to them by the county and the city. The county commission, meanwhile, is moving swiftly to finalize an arrangement with Vanderbilt. So, South Florida, an area of the country that is near and dear to my heart. As a matter of fact, before my family moved to Nashville, actually Franklin to be specific, we moved to Jupiter, Florida, which is just north of West Palm Beach and the northernmost city in Palm Beach County. So I actually chose Palm Beach County over Middle Tennessee, only to have my wife pull her veto card and said, you know what, this is not the right place for our family. I'd be more comfortable in Franklin. We're moving again to Franklin, which we did. I don't regret that choice whatsoever. I don't plan to ever leave Middle Tennessee. But if I were to have a beach house, if you will, it absolutely would be in Jupiter, Florida, which is in Palm Beach County, which I agree is a very, very special place and the best place to live in all of Florida. Just my personal opinion. It seems to me that Vanderbilt agrees, and what they're doing here I think is very, very smart. Hitch your wagon to both Middle Tennessee and South Florida, and you will absolutely be successful. Those are 2 regions that are going to be absolutely booming for a long time. All right, let's move on. We're going to go back to 2nd Avenue now. Downtown's old spaghetti factory on 2nd Avenue to be redeveloped. The downtown building, long home to the old spaghetti factory, is set to undergo a transformation. Illinois-based T2 Capital Management paid $17.5 million for the damaged downtown property. The investment firm is planning more than 50 condo units, each of which can be used as short-term rentals, and is reactivating the 10,000 square foot ground level retail space. The building, located at 160 2nd Avenue, was best known as the decades-long home to the old spaghetti factory. The firm plans to break ground on the project in mid-2025 with an expected completion in 2026. So another damaged 2nd Avenue property purchased by an out-of-state developer who is going to take this property to the next level with 50 condo units all set up to be used as short-term rentals, as well as, you know, the first floor retail that you've come to expect from 2nd Avenue. No user has been named for that space, but when it is named, I'm sure it'll be big news and we'll update you on it. 2 more stories to go. All right, I'm going to make this quick because I know a lot of folks might be bored by this one, so this will be short and sweet. Introducing the concept of floor area ratio, a metric that is driving land values even higher in Nashville. Today, air matters more than dirt in Nashville land values. FAR, or floor area ratio, is the ratio between a building's size and the size of the piece of land the building is located on. So rather than quote a value or a price based on the square footage of the dirt, one quotes the value or the price of that property based on what could be built, right? So if a small parcel of land has zoning that allows you to go up to taller and taller floors, right? You are going to calculate what is the buildable size of what's possible there, and then base your valuation based on what's possible. The square footage of what's possible, not the square footage of the land as it sits today. And the big reason this has become important is the zoning in our city varies so widely. You have different height restrictions, you have different setbacks, you have different density requirements. You know, a buyer really wants to know what can be built there. And if you're going to be paying a premium for the land that you have to pay to get land in Nashville, right? You want to make sure you are building the biggest project you possibly can on that parcel of land. And that's what this calculation provides potential buyers and sellers of land in Nashville. How big can a project get on this site? And then let's quote the price of that land based on the square footage of what's possible there, is kind of what we're getting at. When estimating land value by FAR, investors take into account how many floors or square footage is allowed to be built on the land site, rather than just the size of the lot. The type of valuation has been used in larger markets like New York, DC, Los Angeles for years, but is a fairly new concept in Nashville. Buyers, sophisticated buyers from other markets, are now asking, what is the land cost from an FAR standpoint? Or how much am I paying per buildable square foot? And I think that's a better way to really think about it. It's easier to understand. How much is this land per buildable square foot? So don't tell me the price of the land based on the square footage of the land. Quote me the price of the land based on what's buildable there. That makes a whole lot of sense to me as well. There are a lot of loopholes when it comes to local zoning requirements. The bonus height program and the special exemption requests are just two of multiple ways developers can work around codes to build a bigger project. As out-of-town investors and new development continues to crowd the city, land prices are considered to continue to rise. So, you thought land in Nashville was expensive now? It's only going to go up, ladies and gentlemen. So prepare for that, and also look for land properties that are listed for sale to be quoted per square foot of buildable project, right? How big is the project that would be allowed to be built there? And then we're going to quote the land price based on the square footage of that buildable project. That's the new normal in Nashville. It takes another level of sophistication from brokers who are going to be selling land to really figure out, if the seller hasn't already done that calculation, to figure out what are the limitations of this parcel. Not only the limitations of the parcel itself, maybe there's water features, maybe there's flood zone, maybe there's required setbacks, maybe there's easements, but also really understanding the different levels of zoning so that one can really give a good estimate of how much buildable space is possible there. That's going to be what you're hearing quoted, at least if you're in the business going forward. Lastly, let's talk about a project coming to 12 South. A mixed-use development is coming to 12 South. The owner of Urban Grub is eyeing a major development on 12 South across the street from his neighborhood staple. Jay Pennington is planning a mixed-use development at the corner of 12th Avenue South and Beechwood Avenue, which is set to include restaurant, retail, office, and residential space. The project will consist of two main buildings attached by elevated walkways that cover a central walkway through the development. So imagine kind of a U-shaped building that covers almost the entire parcel. One would walk down the center of the U to access the storefronts on each side. The bottom three levels will include restaurant, retail, and office space, and the top floor will feature 8 standalone residential units. It will also offer a rooftop space for guests and 2 levels of underground parking. Pennington does not yet own the 0.73 acre parcel where the development is scheduled to rise. So what's happened here is a buyer goes out, they get an accepted offer on the parcel of land, they get a long due diligence period whereby they can design the concept that they have in mind there and go in front of the necessary government folks and request approval for their intended use. As soon as they get that intended use approved, then they move forward and close the transaction. That's especially important if you're using traditional financing, right? So it's hard to finance a project if you can't prove to your lender that you've got approval to use that land the way you intend to, right? Pennington opened Urban Grub on 12 South in 2012. The restaurateur later expanded his neighborhood holdings by opening popular brunch eatery Buttermilk Ranch nearby in 2021. I've heard about Buttermilk Ranch. They're supposed to have some fire breakfast food over there. Got a lot going on, got way too many kids, too many obligations. I don't get to go out for delicious breakfast. You know, most of the time I don't get any breakfast at all unless it's the form of a protein drink. So I'm not the guy to ask about Buttermilk Ranch. But that is what I've got to present to you today. Those are the stories that we thought were most interesting and worthy of your attention. I hope you've taken something from what we presented here today, and I hope you'll continue to tune back in. We drop one new podcast every week covering the top stories of the week that just passed. Please keep listening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, any feedback for us, please feel free to reach out. You can visit our website at www.soldbybeechwood.com. Thanks so much. Until next week.